right. Okay, so we're starting here. Sri Sarada Devi and her divine play. We're looking at the human aspects of the Divine Mother. And interestingly enough, last week we stopped in a rather interesting place because Ramakrishna, Mother was teaching her women devotees and saying that that there should be a certain amount of um, modesty and whatnot there. And then, well, here it's one of these things. Let's see. She says that women must maintain their modesty and their dignity. And then it says, then one of her nieces spoke out and said, Aunt, the master said one does not succeed so long as one has these three: shame, hatred, and fear. And immediately the mother said, no, that is not so. The master said that to those who were intoxicated with God. I say that it is necessary to have a sense of shame, hatred, and fear, especially for women. Now, of course, when you put those three words together, shame, hatred, and fear, and tell somebody they're necessary, that begs a little bit of an explanation. And so today, where we pick up, I wanted to remind you of that because that's where it starts. And so the writer kind of cuts in here and gives us a little bit of help with that. But even before we jump into the explanation, this is a good thing to remember. When you're reading a holy scripture, especially if it's a Leela, like the play of Jesus in the Bible or the play of Ramakrishna in the Gospel, there's a reason that Ramakrishna that in the Gospel it lists who's in the room. Anytime that it starts a scene and talks about who was there, to kind of clue you in a little bit on the topics, because Vedanta is like that. Some people who are just starting, the teachings for those at that level of consciousness and awareness are different from somebody who's been practicing for 20 years and is at a different state and a different understanding. And so Mother here is saying that Ramakrishna's talk about how you have to completely annihilate shame, fear, and what were those three? Shame, fear, and hatred. That at the beginning, it's when you're not God intoxicated and when you're still deeply attached to things of the body and mind, that it's good to have a sense of shame because that can guide you. That sense of shame it's not important that you feel shameful. It's not the shame that's the point of shame. The point of shame is to indicate to you, oh, that's not a good direction. Don't go that direction. That's why you feel that shame, right? And so living in scripture, which is how I like to see the moment, if we can get a pure mind, the moment that we live in, this moment that we're inhabiting is scripture. It's living, dynamic scripture. And your life is your conversation with the scripture of the moment. Right. And that's where our karma comes in. When you're mean to your parents, you feel a twinge. The moment will teach you. The moment will say, not that, or if you hit your little brother, the moment will go, not that. And so with a pure mind means that we're trying not to be selfish and we're listening, we're being present. And the reason that it's so helpful to be here now is through that being present in the moment. You get taught constantly. The moment is tutoring you because that's what karma is all about in the moment. You do things that aren't according to your nature, you're going to suffer a bit. If you do things that are against who you are, and when we say who you are in the Vedantic sense, we're not talking about your physical attributes. We're talking about Satchitananda. That you live according to a pure love that's unconditioned. You live according to a wisdom that is deep and abiding in yourself. And you are present. Your being, your existence. You're here in the moment. You're not in the past. You're not in the future. If you're in the past, that builds a lot of resentment and depression and whatnot can come from living in the past. If you're living in the future, there's anxiety, insecurity. And so this is why we want to live in the present. If your conscience is clear, if you are living according to your nature, according to that love, wisdom, and being, then the moment will be your oasis. And when God says, take refuge in me alone, he could also say, take refuge in the moment alone, because the moment is God. The moment is the I am, right? And so in this moment, there is no history and there's no future. So you can find escape from your samskaras in the moment if you give yourself permission to set down your past. Give yourself a moment to set down your desires, which cause your future, right? And to take refuge in the bliss of the moment, which, if you can be silent enough and listen closely enough to the presence, bliss is always present in the moment. It's just a matter of quieting the mind enough to hear it, to experience it. So here he goes on now. He's going to explain. So when you read the scriptures, back to the initial point, I wander everywhere. Back to the initial point that when you read the scriptures, understand there are times when the scriptures might not be for you. That teaching may not be for you. And that's where, Ramakrishna gives you a very unique permission, and that he says the scriptures are a mixture of sand and sugar. You have to go through and pick out the sugar and discard the sand. He also said it's like a fish. You cut off the tail and the head and you eat the good fish. You don't have to swallow the whole thing. And so with scripture, when you read it, sometimes you'll read something and it's like, that it doesn't gel with you, or it doesn't fit with where you're at or what you're thinking. Ramakrishna gives you permission to kind of put it off. I'm a little bit conservative about throwing it away. I don't say, like sand and sugar like indicates you should just get rid of it. Oh, I don't agree with that, or that's not for me, and you just throw it away. A better thing is to set it aside and say, in this moment, that teaching's not for me, because I've had the experience where some things I didn't understand or didn't get at all. And then a couple of years later, I read it again, and it was very meaningful to me. And it was very helpful to me because I had changed. I had learned something, or I'd grown in a way. So here now, the writer's going to give us a little bit of an explanation of why Mother would contradict Ramakrishna's teaching. Of course, she gives her reason. She says that he was talking to God intoxicated souls, and she's talking to you and I, the regular Joes and Josephines. So Ramakrishna's and Holy Mother's teachings are not contradictory. Rather, they are complementary. Ramakrishna's advice is for those who are already established on the divine plane, and Holy Mother's instruction in this case are for those who are working toward that state. People are like saplings, which need a fence to protect them. Otherwise, cows will eat them. But big trees do not need any fence. Good and evil cannot touch illumined souls because they transcend the pairs of opposites. But those who are seekers of God and have started their spiritual journey should discipline themselves and be very careful. Right. And so this is that, just letting you know, if you've still got bad habits in your life, then shame might be a helpful thing. Not that you need to be shamed in that sense, but that shame is an indicator. It's a signal of love. Mother's telling you, hey, that stove is hot. Don't touch it. Right. And she's not telling you not to touch it because it's inherently horrible or inherently impure or something like that. She's telling you don't touch that because it's going to hurt you. It's going to cause you suffering. And it's the same here. Shame is not put there to put you down. Shame is put there to say, hey, the stove is hot. Don't touch it. You feel that way because it's against your nature, because it's not what you are. Right. You're selling yourself short. So people are like saplings which need a fence to protect them, otherwise cows might eat them. But big trees do not need any fence. Good and evil cannot touch a soul, those illumined souls, because they transcend the pairs of opposites. But those who are seekers of God and have started their spiritual journey should discipline themselves and be careful. It seems that the mother meant that a woman must protect her character and her dignity by all means. This is also applicable to men. Yeah, it's modesty of the body, and women always get not really the short end of the stick. I don't want to say it that way, but the focus is always so much more on women because of the nature of men. And the modern argument is like, well, that's the man's problem. That's not my problem. But we don't live in separate worlds, right? And we live in the same world. and we want to be able to get along, and we want to do what's best for each other. So it's really just a matter, out of respect for each other, that the men don't use their strength to beat women up, shouldn't. And women shouldn't use their natural beauty and allure, which men can't resist, to control men either. It has to be a two-way street. I always get in trouble for saying this, so if it causes you any trouble at all, just set it aside, pretend I said nothing to you at all. We're just going along here. Because it's a thing. I bring it up and I talk about it because I just feel like it's out of balance in the world these days. I mean, there's almost no restrictions with what I see people wearing in public for each other, and I don't think it's not respectful to the guys. But if you don't want to take that aspect, if you don't want to see that, but a woman should realize that when she dresses that way, very unflattering things are being provoked in men's minds when they look at her like that. They're not responsible for it. Okay, fine. Don't be responsible for it. But be aware that you're provoking that, whether you want to or not, or intend to or not, isn't the point. And that's why they say it's for the woman to protect her modesty. You probably wouldn't want to know what thoughts are being thought by men who are finding you sexually attractive because of the way that you're displaying yourself, right? But again, you are absolutely right. Women do not have more of a responsibility to protect a man than the man has for himself. And the ideal world, absolutely, men need to take and are responsible for themselves. I don't agree with burqas and covering women from head to toe because the men don't have their self-control. It's definitely a two-way street, and I fully understand that. But I just think from the man's perspective, a woman should be aware that even though she may enjoy dressing that way and may enjoy the attention of dressing that way and find herself beautiful in that way, that all is true. But she should be aware that she is making herself available to the gaze of men, where the things that they're thinking are not going to be flattering to you, are not going to be something you want people to think about you. And so, if I haven't already completely ruined myself in front of you, just take that as a piece of information and do as you like with it. And we'll just come back to Ramakrishna here at this moment. So it seems that the mother meant that a woman must protect her character and dignity by all means. So you see, she's framing it as a woman protecting herself, protecting her dignity, and protecting her character. This is also applicable to men. Both men and women should be modest. They should avoid evil company, and they should be careful about losing their purity or their chastity. No one respects an immoral or shameless person. Holy Mother recalled Lakshmi used to imitate the singers of the day, singing and dancing before the master, displaying all of their gestures. And once the master said to me, "That is her mood. Be careful that you do not lose your modesty by trying to follow her example." Right? And so that's a beautiful thing right there, because the master is saying there is a place where you can do that. If there's a form of dance, of Indian dance, that was what was her name? She's from Michigan. She's a great dancer, and the type of dancing she does was temple dancing, that until modern times was never performed outside of a shrine. It was always done in the shrine for the deity, a form of dance for the deity. I think Ramakrishna is mentioning something like that, where you're dancing, and you're dancing for the Lord. And in that context, be free. It's for the Lord. It's out of your devotion. These things don't apply. It's between you and God. But if you're going to do it not in the shrine or elsewhere, consider the moves, consider the outfit, consider the whatnot, to protect your own self, to make sure you're not getting into a situation you don't want to get into. All right. In the Ramayana, when Ravana kidnapped Sita and tried to tempt her, she said, "You are a sinner. I hate you. You may kill me, but my mind will never think of any other person than Rama." Right? Of course, he was threatening to, he had kidnapped her, and not for good reasons. Behind this kind of hatred, there is a moral strength and courage, right? Hatred is probably a word that doesn't really fit in this context. It's very sensitive for us today because we've defined it in a very particular way. But hatred in this kind of sense is a complete abnegation. It's like, no, that's not for me. I don't accept that, for me. And you avoid that company or that situation at all costs to yourself, like that. That would be a hatred. A hatred here is not a violent inducing hatred, like I'm going to come and yeah, hatred. Yes, I do think that intolerance would be a better word, in modern times. Um, the other person does not have to feel your hatred. It's more, your hatred is more like, for you have an absolute and you're going to move away from that, right? I'm not going to be a part of that. I'm not going to indulge in that. I'm not going to whatever. I don't think that that's proper for me, right? And you move on. So it's the kind of hatred where there's a moral strength and a courage behind it. Similarly, in the Mahabharata, the unrighteous Dushasana tried to humiliate Draupadi by forcefully taking off her sari in the court of the Kauravas. Draupadi prayed to Krishna for help, and Krishna then supplied an infinite length of fabric for her sari to protect her modesty. So I love that scene. I used to see that when Swami Prabhupada was watching that movie, and they're trying to take her sari, strip her of her sari in the public assembly to shame her. And they're pulling and pulling, the sari is unwrapping and unwrapping and unwrapping and unwrapping and unwrapping and unwrapping, never ending. So God himself protects her modesty. The chaste Draupadi's anger and hatred was partly responsible for the destruction of the Kuru dynasty. One should show anger and hatred if someone tries to destroy one's pure character, modesty, and spirituality. Okay, so there we get some help, right? Because I really, the word hatred, it's hard for me to think that it has any place in the world at all, let alone in spiritual life. But here it's kind of clear. One should show this kind of anger and hatred if someone tries to destroy your pure character, your modesty, or your spirituality. So if you're under attack from someone else, hatred is a response to that, right? So let's try that as a working model for us. Regarding fear, the mother did not mean the fear of a robber or a tiger or a snake or death. She meant the fear of losing one's dignity, the fear of scandal, or the fear of a public disgrace. About the mother's shyness, Sarada wrote, in Udbodhan, during the mother's last illness, a monk came to see her. She was sleeping, and the monk began to massage her feet. There was no veil over the mother's head at that time. After the monk left, the mother scolded me, saying, there was no veil over my head. Why did you not arrange it? Am I dead? I am still alive, and you're looking after me in this way. Right? So in those days, it was common, again, in that culture, for women to wear veils when they were around single men, or non-family members, like that. And again, a lot of that's cultural and whatnot, and the minds adjust accordingly. But here and then, that's the way it was. But the notion is there, we all just protect our modesty. We don't parade ourselves in a provocative sort of way for the purpose of provocation, right? What that means is up to you. Hunger and thirst. As an embodied being, Holy Mother experienced hunger and thirst like an ordinary person. In 1887, when the mother was 34 years old, she went to Kamarpukur with Yogananda and Golapma. They traveled by train to Burdwan and then walked 30 miles because they did not have enough money to hire a bullock cart. After walking 16 miles, the mother was hungry and totally exhausted. Golapma managed to make some khichdi on a roadside inn, and after finishing the meal, the mother exclaimed, "Ah, Golap, What nectar you have prepared! What nectar you have prepared! Once in Jairamati, the mother was very ill from malaria. Swami Sharadananda, Yogan Ma, and Golab Ma brought a doctor from Calcutta. Oh, people are going out and coming back in. Okay. Golab Ma brought a doctor from Calcutta with fruit, a special diet, and medicine. Holy Mother had an aversion to the food and special diet that Sharadananda had brought from Calcutta. One day, Keshavananda's mother came from Kolpara to see Holy Mother. She brought some Mainakota, Mayna-Kota, it's got an asterisk, parched rice powder mixed with roasted sesame powder, a little chili powder, and salt. That sounds interesting. She brought some Mayna-Kota for her, thinking that it would awaken her taste buds and bring back her appetite. Every morning and every evening before going to bed, Saradeshananda inquired about Holy Mother's needs. One morning, the mother said to Saradeshananda, "My son, I feel hungry. Could you feed me?" She then whispered something to her attendant, Mandakini, who was lying on the floor. Mandakini left the room for a bit and then brought some Mayna-Kota in a cane bowl. Holy Mother asked Saradeshananda to feed it to her. Perplexed, the Swami worried that the food would be bad for her. But when the mother insisted, he began to feed her. The mother's face was beaming with a joy and satisfaction like an adolescent girl. She then drank a glass of water, and the Swami put the mother back to bed, covering her with a chadar. Once, one of Holy Mother's disciples remarked, "No human body is perfect. Even if a young and healthy person's body is checked by a doctor, he will find some abnormality somewhere in that person's system. Avatars also suffer from these physical ailments and pain. Buddha died of blood dysentery. Ramakrishna suffered from fever and dysentery, and he died of cancer. Sometimes people ask, well, why do avatars get diseases? Avatars absorb people's sins and bad karma. That is why they suffer. Moreover, every mortal being goes through 6 stages. It is born, it lives, grows, changes, decays, and dies. There is no exception to this natural law. Holy Mother had a weak stomach, and she suffered from rheumatism throughout her life. At various times, she had episodes of malaria, of dysentery, chickenpox, headache, toothache, inflammation of the eye, and prickly heat. She died of Kala Azar, also known as leishmaniasis. I don't know what that is. Anyway, once in Jairamati, the mother saw her emaciated body reflected in a pond and wanted to give it up. During that illness, her eyes swelled and she had a blurred vision, but she recuperated by the grace of Mother Simhavahini. Right, that's another manifestation of God as Mother at that small temple in Mother's hometown, or near there. The villages of Bengal are notorious for malaria because mosquitoes breed in large numbers in ponds full of hyacinths. Many people die from malaria every year. Holy Mother suffered from this illness many times in Jairamati. Dr. Kanjilal and Dr. Satish Chakrabarti often came from Calcutta in order to treat her. One day in Jairamati, the mother was sitting on the couch preparing betel rolls. Swami Arupananda said to her, "In the future, many people will practice spiritual disciplines to propitiate you." Holy Mother answered with a laugh, "Why do you say that? People will say our mother had rheumatism and limped when she walked." And she continued, "The illness is a blessing in a way. When the master left me saying, if he is an incarnation of God, how can he be sick? This is all Maya. But those who are my own, their hearts break when they see my suffering." During Holy Mother's time, there was no electricity in Udbodhan house. She used a palm leaf hand fan during the summer, and during heat waves, she would get prickly heat rash. At such times, she was terribly uncomfortable. She was considering applying sandal paste on her body, but feared that the paste would give her a cold. Her disciple, Sarajubala, suggested that she use talcum powder to relieve the rash. Although it was a cosmetic item at the time, the mother agreed to use it. The next morning, Sarajubala sent the powder. Holy Mother applied it and enjoyed some relief. When Sarajubala came to Udbodhan house that evening, Holy Mother said to her, "Look, I used your powder and the prickly heat has subsided in some areas. Please apply some of this area that is aggravated. The itching is also much reduced. Sharat is also suffering from prickly heat. It would be nice if someone applied this powder to his body." Sarajubala said, "My goodness, who's going to tell him to use it? It's a luxury item used by fashionable people." Holy Mother laughed when she heard this. In fact, the mother did not care for luxury at all. The mother had long, thick hair, and in Jairambati she bathed either in the pond or in the Amadar River, and in Calcutta she bathed in the Ganges or used tap water. She was careful to dry her hair in the sun, otherwise she would get a headache. In Dakshineshwar, she took a bath early in the morning, and her hair remained wet all day because her hair was twisted in a bun and covered with a veil. In the early afternoon, when there were no people around and the temple workers took their rest, she would sit on the steps of the Nahabat to dry her hair. In Jairambati, she moved around with her hair loose and without a veil, so her hair dried quickly after her bath. In Calcutta, she sat on the roof to dry her hair. This is really interesting. I'm not sure what the commentary is about the numerous ways that Mother dried her hair, but here it is. In Dakshineshwar, she took a bath early in the morning. In the early afternoon, when there were no people around in the temple and the workers had taken their rest, she would sit on the steps of the Nahabat to dry her hair. Shurabala recorded, "I found the mother on the roof drying her hair. When she saw me, she said, 'Take the cloth off from your head and dry your hair. Don't keep your hair wet because the water soaks into the head and ruins the eyesight.'" This may have been a village belief. Indeed. All right. There is a saying in Sanskrit, "Bhimna ruchirhi lokaha." Taste changes from person to person. Everyone is brought up eating certain types of food, and food habits differ from person to person, from place to place, and country to country. For example, menus and delicacies are often different between Bankura and Calcutta, East Bengal and West Bengal, North India and South India, China and America. Holy Mother loved the local food of Jairambati village and the surrounding district of Bankura. Ashu Mitra made a list of the mother's favorite foods. For fruit, she liked mangoes, jackfruit, and rose apple, jamrul, lychee, the mango stone, and papaya. All right, so these are good notes for your worship. If you ever worship the mother, these are her favorite fruits. For vegetables, they use the Indian words though, so we'll never know what these are. For vegetables, she liked sajina. Anybody know what sajina is? Sajina. Long
Yes,
A.
yes, Maharaj, but it doesn't grow here.
Oh, it doesn't grow here. Okay, well, take the book to the Indian market with you. Kalmi, an edible aquatic plant. Amrul, which is kind of a sour spinach. Hing, dudhul, patal, potatoes and pumpkin. Okay, so potatoes and pumpkin. You can offer the mother potatoes and pumpkin. All right. For dal or beans, she likes unrud, chana. Isn't chana chickpeas? Yeah, so chickpeas.
Yes.
Ahar and mung dal. Fried and boiled foods, she liked balls made from lentil paste, fried eggplant, pulari, which is also a dish made with lentil paste, chira bhaja, which is fried flattened rice, papadam, those are those spicy tortilla type things, a type of fried cracker, steamed posta, which is poppy seed paste, mocha, which is boiled banana flour, poppy seed curry, and hog plums, and poppy seed chutney. So there you are. Now for desserts, she liked tilkuta, which is a sweet made with sesame seed, chanar murki, a sweet made from cheese, gaja, a sweet made with flour, patisapta, a kind of cake made with rice powder, milk, and coconut. All right. On Ekadashi days, the 11th day of the lunar fortnight, the mother did not eat rice. Instead, she ate luchis, or fried bread, radha palabi, chana dal, or donka, a kind of curry made of lentil paste, farina pudding, or milk pudding made with oranges. Swami Arupananda also listed Holy Mother's favorite foods. And in his list, it goes like this. The mother preferred sweet sour mangoes rather than extremely sweet mangoes, such as pirafuli, langara, and alfonso. Among the spinaches, she liked gram spinach and radish spinach. As she sometimes suffered from dysentery, Kaviraj Durga Prasad Sen asked her to eat amrul spinach, a sour spinach, as an antidote. Swami Premananda supplied amrul spinach from Belur She loved fried things, such as beguni, which is fried eggplant dipped in batter, pulari, which is made from lentil paste, or hot lentil bara. A lentil chop fried in oil, potato chop, juri bhaja, a kind of crisp snack made of lentils and other fried things. And for lunch, she liked thin urad lentils and barbecued pasta paste, which were her favorite dishes in Jairambati. She ate bitter squash curry. Oof. All right. I just touched one of my limits. Mixed vegetable curry, chachuri, and vegetable soup mixed with a little lime juice. For dessert, she liked ratabi sandesh, a dry sweet made of cheese, and rasapuli, a ball made of sweet potato and soaked in syrup, and a sweet ball made of mung dal. Finally, she would drink a cup of milk after lunch and after supper. She would mix some of her milk with rice and give it to the devotees as prasad. In the afternoon, the mother did not have any refreshments. For supper, she had 2 or 3 luchis, a small amount of vegetable curry, and some milk. All right. There you are. I'm sure that I've eaten all of those things at one time, but didn't know their names. So.
Maharaj,
Yes.
the devotees had a lot of those sweets. They made it for Sarvadevanandaji the other day.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I know all these things are still made. I'm sure of it. And lots of them are served. I've had some of these things at Belur Buddha said in the Dhammapada, there never was, there never will be, nor is there now a man who is always blamed or a man who is always praised. Those who have many faults see the faults in others. This is like a strainer mocking a needle because it has a hole. That's an interesting statement there, right? Those who have many faults see the faults in others, right? That's a good thing to remember when you're feeling critical. Be like, oops. Even perfect God-men were criticized by ordinary people. Once a Christian made a remark about Buddha. I like everything about him except his death because he was not crucified. Oh my goodness. Holy Mother prayed to the Lord that she might not see the faults in others, and her prayer was answered. Her life was so pure, so loving, and so transparent that she was considered to be Ajata Shatru, a person who has no enemies. The mother's main critics were her own relatives. Her brother Kali complained when Holy Mother spent money on festivals and devotees instead of giving it to him. Radhu's mother, Shurabala, did not want young men to become monks. When they came to the Holy Mother, she would say to them, look, this person whom you call the mother is snatching you away from your biological mother. She will make you a monk and force you to abandon your hearth and home. The mother listened to her sister-in-law's warnings and smiled. The members of the Roy family in Jibta were the wealthy landlords in the Jairambati area. One of the young men of that family went astray because of evil company, and his father was very sad because he could not reform his son. One of his relatives suggested that he send him to Holy Mother in Jairambati for spiritual advice. Terrified, the wealthy man said, I would rather set apart some of my property for my son to squander and live in his own way than to send him there. I think that was the pre-incarnation of my mother. Anyone who wants to do good in the world will have to face criticism. Once a young devotee received sannyasa from Holy Mother. That's her monk vows, monastic vows. But his mother came and asked the mother to send her son back home. She said that he was the only wage earner, the whole household depended on him. Moreover, he had a wife and a son. The mother listened to her and expressed sympathy, but did not agree to make him go back home. Holy Mother said firmly, he has chosen the right path for himself. He has already made provision for the maintenance of you all. I have heard there is someone to look after you, so I will not ask him to return to his home. Although the mother could not take her son back home, the mother's blessings reassured her, and she returned home with great hope. On Holy Mother's advice, the young monk maintained a good relationship with his mother as long as she lived. A disciple often brought a heavy load of groceries on his head to the Holy Mother from a market 6 miles away. One day, when the disciple was coming to Jairambati with groceries, he met a middle-aged man in a neighboring village whom he knew. The man remarked, this boy is so deluded by Maya. After arriving at Holy Mother's house, the disciple bowed down to the mother and told her what the man had said. Immediately, Holy Mother's face became grave, and she said, my son, this type of person is like a worm crawling in samsara. People like this are steeped in worldliness. They cannot understand or appreciate any kind of spiritual service. They never attain love for God. So they come into the world, undergo all its sufferings, and then die. Thus they rotate through life again and again. After passing through endless sufferings of many births, when their minds turn toward God, his grace dawns. Only then do they attain liberation. The disciple listened to the mother in utter astonishment. Right. All right. Peak and childlike behavior. It is natural to experience emotions, wounded feelings, pique, discontent, and bitterness, and for our behavior to change according to our experiences. When a grown-up person plays with a child, that person's childlike nature arises from within, and she or he also behaves like a child. Yes, I've got myself in trouble like that quite a few times. It was right there in the DC center too. Whenever those kids would come over, I'd be jumping on the tables and crawling under the chairs and swinging them around by their arms and legs. Swami had to pull me aside a few times. He said, you're supposed to raise them up to be like you. You're not supposed to sink down and become like them. I was like, but that's more fun. Holy Mother was a mature and wise woman and a guru to her disciples. But from time to time, her childlike nature manifested and she acted accordingly. Once in Jairambati, there was no cook, so Nalini was making the chapatis. Holy Mother and Sharadeshananda were rolling the dough. While baking the chapatis over a fire, Nalini remarked, Aunt, your chapatis are not puffing up very well. Holy Mother became annoyed as a little girl. She set aside the rolling pin and said, well, here's your rolling pin. If my chapatis are not properly flattened, I won't roll anymore. Sharadeshananda reassured the mother and fervently begged her to roll more chapatis. Holy Mother said, I've been rolling chapatis for my entire life, and today this girl says that my chapatis are not up to the mark. Sharadeshananda said, Mother, your chapatis are fine. How does Nalini know which ones are yours and which ones are mine? We're putting our chapatis in the same plate. She's blaming you for nothing, Mother. You're rolling very well. Holy Mother was mollified and began to roll chapatis again. Swami Gaurishwarananda recorded a similar incident. One day in Jairambati, there was a good number of male devotees, but not a single woman devotee. The mother gave me a large quantity of flour that I kneaded into dough. Mother said to Nalini, "You bake the chapatis. Ramai, later Gaurishwarananda, and I will roll them out for you." The mother rolled out one chapati at a time on her small marble chakki or disc with a small rolling pin of ebony, while I rolled three at a time on a large wooden chakki with a thick wooden rolling pin. The work was going on quite smoothly, and suddenly Nalini commented, "Aunt, Rame's chapatis are puffing up better than yours." No sooner had she uttered these words than the mother set aside the chakki and the rolling pin and stopped working. In a wounded voice, she said, "Here I am, grown so old after having rolled chapatis my entire life, and Rame, a mere child born the other day, rolls them better than I do. Well, I'm not going to roll any more chapatis. Let him do it." So, so there sat Mother, her chakki and her rolling pin set aside. I too set my chakki and rolling pin and got up. I told the mother, "If you don't roll chapatis, I won't roll chapatis either. I'm leaving." The mother realized that if both of us did not work together, it would be done. That if both of us did the work together, it would be done quickly, and there would not be any delay in offering food to the master and serving the prasad to the devotees. So she resumed rolling chapatis. I challenged Nalini. Two of us are together supplying chapatis to you. How could you tell the mothers from mine? Can I ever roll chapatis better than the mother? Why do you make these unnecessary comparisons? Right? It's kind of funny to think of Holy Mother getting peaked about that, but at the same time, it's kind of funny, kind of because it's a small thing and you understand it. As Holy Mother was always surrounded by people in Calcutta and Jairambati, she sometimes went to relax in the secluded Jagadamba ashrama, which was located in Kualpara. Swami Parameshwarananda recalls, while living in Jagadamba ashrama, the mother sometimes behaved like a young girl. A swing was set up there. Occasionally, the mother enjoyed swinging, and the devotees would push her. The women devotees would also swing and let Holy Mother push them. Thus, in that joyful atmosphere, the mother would get some rest. Ashu Mitra wrote, one day in Jairambati, the mother went to the pond to bathe. She carried a pitcher of water on her waist like the other village women. When I asked whether she knew how to swim, she replied that when she was young, she had learned to swim like the other village girls. They turned their pitchers upside down and then would hold on to them and paddle. Swami Gaurishwarananda recalled, after a meal, the mother would give me 2 betel rolls to chew at a time. She would comment to the women around her, I do enjoy the sight of Rame after he has had betel rolls. His complexion is dark and his lips become crimson with the pigment of betel leaves. It seems to me that black charcoal cakes are on fire. All right. I'll stop there for today. Stop the recording.